Hi, you're watching and listening to Mark from marksephton.com. Last video I did was really about launching into your 2014, and with that in mind I was thinking about, I do a lot of videos in terms of what we should do, sort of actions and behaviours we should really start to stir up and act out of. And I was thinking about actually 5 things that we need to really eradicate from our lives, 5 things that we really need to stop. And so that's what my video is going to be about today. And my first point really is about blaming. So often we blame situations, circumstances, other people, and we enter into this mindset where we're constantly pointing fingers and almost making excuses for why we don't achieve some of our goals, some of our aspirations. We blame things on the weather and on the way people treat us and the economy, and there's all this sense of just blaming. And so that's one thing I want you to stop this week. Really think about those things in which you're giving all your energy to, into kind of being really submissive of your own kind of responsibilities. You need to start standing your ground and stop blaming. So that's really my first point. The second point along that line, and they're kind of intertwined, is whining. You hear a lot of people that are moaning and whining about their situations, their circumstances. They're constantly pointing out what's wrong, but they're never actually, bringing something to the table, bringing some advice, some energy, some education, some thought, to actually improving things. And so there's this constant attribute and atmosphere of whining, and we need to get rid of it. Fundamentally, we need to eradicate it from our life. The third point is criticising. Often we do criticise because actually it shows an insecurity in us. We find that if we pick fault with somebody else, then actually it prevents us from actually being exposed. And so we tend to criticise people that we don't understand. And so for me, my challenge for you is to actually, rather than criticise, start to understand. And I've always struggled, actually. I've always been good at reading people. And the people that I've struggled with are those that I don't understand, and some have been more challenging than others. But you must refrain from criticising and shooting off your mouth. It's very much better for you to pull somebody aside and to have that one-to-one than openly criticise. Fourth point is comparing. I have this big thing at the moment where we are constantly comparing ourselves with our competitor, with the person down the road, the marriage of our friends, the way that we may bring up our children compared to somebody else, and we're constantly trying to measure ourselves up, and that isn't helped by the world we live in, because it's very much about a dog-eat-dog kind of world. You look at it in the beauty industry and you've got all these issues of anorexia and bulimia because people are wanting to fit in and to compete. And for me, I'm saying to you now sincerely that your race isn't against the man or woman to your left or to your right, but it's against your potential. It's about what God has given you and what you are going to do with the things that God has fundamentally given. And are you just going to constantly compare yourself, or are you actually going to be true to yourself, find out who you are and what you're about, and live within that and stay true rather than being a counterfeit? Be you and embrace you and stop comparing. Your race isn't against that person to the left. It isn't against that neighbour. It isn't against that in-law. It isn't against that business. It isn't against that group of people. It's against your potential. So it's for you really to get the best out of you. And the last point really is fearing. We allow fear to dominate us. And you know what? Fear is okay. My definition of courage is you feel the fear and you do it anyway. And times can be scary and there's the unknown. And I've often said, actually you grow out of your comfort zone. Start seeing the enemy as your comfort zone and not the enemy as being out of it. But stop fearing and start doing. Feel the fear, and do it anyway. One of my favourite verses, or proverbs if you like, is when fear knocks at your door, faith opens it. And that's a really key message. If you're going through a fearful time right now, let faith open it. Have the courage, have the strength. And I hope this video challenges you and helps you think of those 5 things that you really need to eradicate early doors in order to get the best and the most out of your 2014. You can find out more about me if you go to marksephton.com or follow me on Twitter. That's probably my biggest presence on social media. Twitter Twitter tag handle is @SephtonMark, and I look forward to speaking to you then.